As you can see behind me, we have our camper out again, and we're getting it prepared to go on our summer vacation trip. A couple of things we're going to be doing is taking our grandkids up to see great grandmas and also taking a trip up the East Coast. Mostly our destination is Hackettstown, New Jersey, and our son and daughter-in-law, well, future daughter-in-law, is going to be getting married in November, so we're going to go out there and we're scouting the place out. But we're going to, right now, Paul is getting ready to do some maintenance things on our RV that we named Flo, and so we're going to go find out what he is working on.
Well, today I'm taking care of some of the maintenance to get Flo ready for our trip this summer. One of the annual things that needs to be done with your RV is you need to check the water heater, clean out the tank, check your anode rod, which catches gunk that's inside the tank and slows down corrosion. And it's really a simple process. So I'm just going to show you the simple steps. First, you need to get into your water heater through the side panel. It's a good idea to take the panel off, get it out of the way. I'm going to check and make sure that there's no bugs, that wasps and dirt daubers and things have not made a nest in anything, because that will keep it a lot of times from working. Now, the first thing you have to do is you have to drain the tank. And before you can completely drain the tank, this valve up here is a pop-off and overflow valve. So you pull that up, that releases the pressure and allows air to circulate in there and get the tank completely empty. Now I need a 1 1/8 inch socket, and it's very simple. I'm going to ratchet with an extension, and I'm just going to take out the plug, which is also the anode rod, and water is going to start coming out. Now while we're draining the water, let's take a look at this anode rod. It actually is not in bad shape. It's got just a little gunk on it. When it really gets bad, this rod goes from being this big around, or the size it is now, to probably about less than the size of a pencil. And it'll have pits all in it and everything else. So this anode rod is not in bad shape. I'm just going to put it back in and check it again in about 6 months. And if it looks bad in 6 months, then I'll replace it. And you can see at the end of it, there's a little dot right there in the middle. That's the center of the rod, and that's the point you don't want to get all the way down to. This is a wand for reaching in there and cleaning it out. Now they sell wands that come up. It's a plastic tube with a hole in the middle of it. I just happen to have an adapter to go on my hose, into my hose, and some tubing, so I just put one together like that, and it's got the stick on it just to make it a little more stiff. So really, there wasn't a whole lot of junk that came out of the water heater. So in the last year, we really have not messed up our water heater too badly. That means the anode rod's working fine and everything else is working good. So now it's just a matter of sticking your clean out hose in there. Turn it on. Now there I'm starting to get some junk out. And that is all it takes to clean out your water tank. Now to finish up, put the plug with the anode back in it, anode rod and plug. You want to get it tight, but you don't want to put gorilla strength on it, because after all, you do want to be able to get it back off. You just want to make sure that it doesn't leak. Lastly, we're gonna fill this tank back up here in a minute. But the last thing you want to do is make sure that you turn your pressure release valve off so that you don't start leaking water out of your pressure release. Put the cover back on, and she's good to go for another 6 months to a year. Another one of the annual maintenance items, or sometimes semi-annual maintenance items, that I like to do is to dump my freshwater tank and to refill it and sanitize it. What I'm doing right now, I've already dumped the tank, and I've hooked my hose up to the freshwater intake, and using this Save-A-Drop water meter that I just got, we're filling the tank back up, and I'm going to go to about 3/4. This is a 75-gallon freshwater tank, so I'm going to go a little over 50 gallons, and then I'll add in some bleach. You use a 1/4 cup of bleach for every 15 gallons of tank space that you have. Then you're going to run water through your faucets. Make sure you smell bleach coming out of all those faucets. Empty the tank again after you've done that, and then I'll refill the tank with fresh water, dump it one more time so that we know that it's completely clean, it's got all the bleach out of it, and then I'll add up how much fresh water I want to carry while I'm on the road with me. Another maintenance item that we're trying for the first time is we are going to completely flush our black tank, which I did earlier today. Most of you, I'm sure, already know how to flush your black tank, or empty it. And then I have used the same system, the same water meter. I attached it earlier to the black water rinse out or flush valve up here, flush inlet, and I added enough water into the black tank to fill it almost completely full. And then I picked up at Walmart some of this tank cleaning treatment. I've never used it before. This will be the first time. We'll have to come back on a video later and tell everybody how good a job it did. But after I've emptied the black tank, flushed the black tank out twice, I'm going to add the water to it, put this in, let it set 24 hours, and then drive down the road. And our first stop on the trip, I'll pull up and I'll dump the black tank again. And it should clean off my sensors, and it should completely clean out the black tank if it does what it says it's going to do. So we'll have to come back on a video later and let you know exactly how it worked. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about some safety products and other products that we really think that every RVer needs with their RV. So to start with, I've got a few items here on the table that are things that we have picked up over time and are safety products to use to make things work better with your RV. The first one, and one of the most important, I think, is a surge protector for your RV. This makes sure when you plug it into the pedestal at the campground, it gives you a reading here to make sure that it's good to go. If you've got green lights, your surge protector is on. The blue light is on and the red light is off. It's the correct wiring. And if you have open grounds, reverse polarity, or open neutrals, you get a mix match of colored lights. So it's a good idea to use one of these. You plug this into the pedestal, turn your pedestal on, make sure that everything's good to go, turn your pedestal off, then plug your RV into this, your main power cord, flip the power back on, and you're good for the weekend. Now, in addition to power safety, I also want to talk a little bit about water safety. Some campgrounds or some municipal places, or especially if you mooch dock, stay at somebody's house, the water pressure that they have at their house may be a little bit too much for your RV. Now, you need to check your owner's manual to find out how much pressure the RV water system can handle. This is an adjustable pressure water regulator and water gauge You screw this into the faucet where you are. I like to put a splitter on this end of it, so that I can have access to water all the time, as well as being hooked up to the camper.
Look up.
And then you turn the water on and it reads the pressure. Mine, I typically go between 40 and 50 pounds of pressure. That's a good range. If you're down to the 30-pound range, everything will still work okay, but 40 pounds works great, 50 pounds is fine. And the water system, the tubing in this RV is rated at 60 pounds. I like to keep it 50 pounds, that way I know there's no issues.
I have a question. Is there water inside there? What does that look like, that liquid?
That liquid in there is oil, and the oil in there keeps that gauge operating safely. We've covered electricity, we've covered water. Now another thing we're going to cover is gas. We have a Blackstone griddle that we use quite often as we're out, and the camper came equipped with an LP quick connect place here, and I bought a hose when we first started RVing that I can hook to this to hook to my outside grills and griddles. Problem is, this is a regulated LP line, which means the regulators on the tank already lower the pressure to the LP gas. The hookup for my griddle, and before my grill had a second regulator on it. That regulator caused it to be too much low pressure, and I didn't get a high enough flame to be able to cook. So I had to purchase an adapter. This fits the Blackstone. You do have to check and make sure that the adapter that you buy will work with the appliance that you have. But this goes on the Blackstone itself, then it will screw on to the end of this hose, and the other end of the gas hose is the quick connect that will go right there. The other nice thing about this hose is it's 18 feet long, which will allow me to get the grill a pretty good ways away from the camper, so that I don't have any risks of fire or flame getting back to the camper. So safety is important no matter what you're doing. Use plenty of hose, make sure your hose stays in good condition, and make sure you use the correct adapters.
Okay, what's next?
The next item that every RVer needs is chocks. Now this is a set of heavy duty rubber chocks. What they do is they make sure that your tires are blocked when you come in, so that your RV doesn't roll backwards or forwards. You need at least 2 of these for the back tires. And then a second chock that I have, or a second type of chock that I like to use, is this tire chock. This goes real simple between the tires. Turn your handle, tighten it down, and one of the things that this does is it helps to stabilize your RV so that you don't get as much shaking back and forth while you're walking around in the RV. And just as easy as it is to hook up, it's that easy to take it off. You always want to make sure that your RV doesn't roll out from underneath you when you hook it up. That would be a bad thing. So now we're moving on to a few other safety items, and these are things that we carry in the back of the truck. That's why they're inside this black and yellow plastic tote, so that we can keep them out of the weather. You never know what you're going to run into on the road, and so even though I was never a Boy Scout, I was a Boy Scout leader, and so I always like to be prepared. You never know what you're going to need while you're out there. Hopefully you don't have any flat tires, but if you do, you need a 4-way lug wrench or a good heavy-duty impact wrench that you can use, battery operated impact wrench that you can use to take off the lug nuts. So I carry my 4-way with me in here. Also, if you have to change a tire, you need some type of a jack. This is a 12-ton capacity bottle jack that should have no problem lifting up one of the axles on this RV. Now, if you do have to pull off the side of the road to do anything, whether it's night or day, you need to make sure that people can see that you're out there. So some other safety items that we picked up. This is from Bright Innovations.
And we've ordered most of this off of Amazon.
That's right. Amazon's a great place to go to. Bright Innovations, this is a safety flare, and it's an electric LED safety flare. It came with the batteries. And so there you go. You set those safety flares up back behind your RV. Work great at night.
And those are LED lights on there, aren't they?
And they're LEDs. And if it's during the daytime, you can also set up your handy dandy little cones. Now these are expanding cones. They're from...
Anyway, they came from Amazon, right?
Sunnyglade. Sunnyglade is the name of the company. They just pop up, and there's a lot of uses for these besides needing them if you're stuck out on the road. For instance, when you're set up at a campground, you might want to set one of these up near your fifth wheel hitch or your tongue for your trailer, so that as kids are running around and playing, they don't bonk their heads or knock their shins on the hitches. So you can set them up as a safety device to notify people of where things are located. Another safety device that hopefully you won't ever need, but if you do, it's nice to have, is some sort of a tow strap. This one I've had for several years. It's still in really good shape, and I have had to use it a time or two because my truck is only a 2-wheel drive truck, and I've gotten into some sandy situations before where I needed a little help to get through a rough spot. It doesn't hurt to carry some antifreeze or coolant if you've got a place to carry it. That way, if you have any issues, you're good to go. This is ready to use. It's pre-mixed. You don't have to worry about mixing water with it. Another recent purchase that we've made is this jump start box, and this, you recharge it by just plugging it into a regular outlet. It does take about 30 to 48 hours to charge the first time that you charge it, and then after you've used it 2 or 3 times, you may have to charge it another 24 hours to get it back up to full charge. But this way you don't have to have another vehicle to jump you off. You can actually just use this to jump start yourself. The final item is not safety related for the vehicle or the RV that every RVer should have is a good first aid kit. Good first aid kit does need to have all your basic supplies in there. This one we also have some aspirin, some ibuprofen, some wipes, burn cream, insect bite ointment, and an assortment of other things that are here, all in a nice little pouch. Another thing that I would say about first aid kit is you need to check your first aid kit on a regular basis to make sure that none of the products in there, especially things that you're taking like ibuprofen, aspirin, any of the medications, make sure they're not out of date. So keep your first aid kit up to date and it will take care of you. Until later, we say,
bye y'all.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching our video. Please like and subscribe to our channel, The Go With The Flow Couple. Bye y'all.